Hey, what's up, Front Seat Real Estate? Sean Provencher here with the Path Real Estate team, and I've got Dylan Provencher, my bro, with the Path Real Estate team as well. And we just wanted to do a little decompression video to talk about the Seth Campbell event we held last week. We are so excited about the way that this came off because we left with so many cool ideas.
It was totally incredible, but I do want to say that we will continue the Gary Keller Bulletproofing Yourself in a Shift next week. It's just my brother and I are so excited about this event that we feel like it would really be a travesty for us not to tell you guys everything that we got from it. I also wanted
just fresh.
Oh, it's fresh and ready.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you too that we just want to say that none of the stuff we're going to talk about today is a direct quote. We're not saying what Seth said. We are literally just telling you what we took from the event. And remember, guys, with every bit of education that you ever get, you're going to see different things for every time you take it because you're going to be at different stages of your career. So, again, these aren't direct quotes. We are just paraphrasing what we took from the event. Do you mind if I start right away?
Yeah, let's just jump right into it.
Okay. My biggest thing, and I've heard this said before, and it's not Seth who's the first guy to say it, but it just, based on where I am in my life, it really hit me like an absolute ton of bricks. Your business will grow to the extent that you do. And I just think that this is such an incredible point. You know, I've got plans for almost every single thing in my life, and growth is something that I've kind of let fall to the wayside. I'm always kind of educating myself, but I realized by listening to how incredibly intelligent this guy is that one of the reasons that he's so engaging to listen to and just, I mean, comes off as such a business genius when you listen to him, is that he has been so studious and so militant in his pursuit of knowledge surrounding business. And it makes me realize that, number one, I have to really grow as an individual, both education-wise and just in leadership and developing leaders in general. And it was incredible.
Yeah. The cool thing, too, is, you know, he talks about his natural ceiling of achievement being way lower than what's going on in his organization. And it's because he has purposefully created systems and tools to help keep him on track. And that was one of the things that I thought was so cool is, like, you know, he talks about business. He says, oh, well, you know, it's simple. You define your goal and then you break it into segments and then, you know, you build out job descriptions for each segment and then you go find those people. And we've never been this purposeful in the way that we've designed our business. We've just gotten lucky. You know, I got a friend who's good at this, I got that, and everything mishmashed together. But it's always been a struggle to get things turning the right speed and everyone kind of cranking in the same direction.
And I think part of our problem is that we, in the past, haven't really defined the role that clearly because we didn't have an organizational chart for the company that we were growing into. We were just, a lot of the time, trying to sort of put
Here's
out
what
fires.
we need right now.
Yeah,
like
panic putting, you know, mud on the fire to put it out sort of thing. Whereas I think moving forward, it'll make our relationship with our employees and especially our operations staff a lot more fruitful when we have clearly defined roles and there's a path that they can see where they're going. Because the one thing he talked about a lot too is that the job description should happen at hiring, and then you know whether you've got someone who's bought into that vision or not. Whereas for us, we will sometimes just think, well, the next thing we need is 1,000 leads this year.
Who can help us with that?
Well, I know that person because they're already here, and all of a sudden they're like, well, wait a second, I didn't necessarily sign up for this, and then you're in a conflict spot. So it's really, you know, I got to say for us, we're going back to the drawing board with a lot of stuff and making sure that we get commitment from the people on our team and
get buy-in even from each other on our 5-year, 10-year plan. Like,
absolutely,
the things that you do in 10 years will be governed by what you do today. And if you are building a foundation and you use all different bricks, it's not going to be very easy to go up 3 levels. But the thing that I loved about it was you look at this and you're like, well, that's so simple. Stupid me. Why didn't I do that? And then you look at the way that he's done it for himself. Because like you said, you know, naturally not this person who goes out and does this every day. He's built all these tools. And the part that was so funny about it is it, again, was so simple. And it was all tools that we already have. So he knows, you know, how he wants to grow. He's written out his personal vision statement of who he believes he should be. And then he built it out into a 4-1-1, and he carries it with him. He's got his 1-year, 3-year, 5-year plan, carries it with him, looks at it every night before bed. And I just, you know, you talk about growing as a leader, and I think, well, what a simple, purposeful way to hold yourself to that by putting it on paper and looking at it every day. You're going to start finding yourself on track sooner than you thought.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, and the thing that the other big aha, like, brick to the head moment for me was just how clear it is that it rolls down the hill. Because at the core of everything should be your 1-3-5. What does Gary always say? Begin with the end in mind. So if you don't know where you want to be in 5 or 10 years,
in 3 years,
guess what? You're going to arrive somewhere, whether you have a plan or not. So to not plan is to ultimately fail. And by having that 1-3-5 laid out, you'll be able to literally decide every decision you want to make in your year based on where you want to be at the end of the year, based on where you're trying to get to in 3 years, based on where you're trying to get to in 5 and 10 years. And from there, the activities that you need to execute, if they don't feed into that 1-3-5 vision, you just don't do them, period. And it's funny, I'm reading this book called The Sales Manager's Code, and it agrees completely that there's not a lot of business results that you actually have any effect on without someone else's consent. The only thing that you really get to control is your own actions and your own activities, period. And this just feeds into that. So I love the way he tied accountability to your big plan and what your vision is. He also talked a lot about, why don't you actually talk about vision and emotion? I thought you do a great job of explaining.
Yeah, this was awesome. This was another just simple nugget that came out of the day, but it ties right into that because we're all guilty of shiny object syndrome or, wanting to do something more fun than lead generate. Don't get me wrong. I've built a business door knocking and cold calling.
Yeah, or whatever activity is important to you in your role currently, period. This goes
whatever
for
your
everyone.
20% is.
Yeah.
But there's always something that could be more fun. Like you were saying when we were talking about this earlier, like 10 times out of 10, I would rather go snowboarding than cold call. I wouldn't be able to afford snowboarding if I didn't cold call though, right?
Yeah.
And if you've got a huge goal of somewhere where you want to be in 3 years, 5 years, 1 year, 6 months, any amount of time, then it's the activities that are literally the only thing that you have the ability to control in attainment of that goal. There's nothing else that you have control over because for everything else, someone needs to be part of that. They need to agree. They need to go through the whole thing with you. You can't sell a house without them signing on the line and wanting to do it. There's a whole bunch of stuff that has to line up, in the cosmos. So he talks about this thing where you look at your vision, and your vision it's yours. It can be as big or as small as you want, but whatever it is, it's something that you are striving for. And the problem is that a lot of people allow their emotional wants to become an obstruction to them achieving their vision.
So what's an example of an emotional want?
Let's go out for a smoke. It's 9:30 a.m. You just started making your calls.
Instagram.
Facebook. Your email. You literally checking your email. You've got a client that's stressing you out and you're replying to emails at 9:30 in the morning when you're supposed to be doing your lead follow-ups or your lead generating calls. And not only is your day done, but your vision is no longer going to come to fruition because every little action that you committed to doing is necessary for you to reach it. And by cheating on it, you are allowing yourself to steer out of the course that aligns you with your vision. Yeah. So when you have these moments, realize that you're not just giving up on, 5 calls. Yeah. This is you cheating your vision just to give yourself, some emotional pleasure in the short term.
Yeah.
And that one hit a bunch of our teammates hard. It's because this business is a grind, and it's so easy to say, you know what, I'm just going to pop out for a minute. I'll come back to this, or let me get back to this person. Oh, I saw a text. I better call them. There's no such thing as a real estate emergency. And if you have big goals, quite frankly, your own emotions probably aren't much of an emergency compared to what you're trying to achieve on the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
So it's just an interesting way to look at your life and figure out where you're putting your energy. Another little tidbit that hit me. Did you have one, or should I just
go ahead
keep
if you got
steamrolling you? Another one that hit me so hard was yes how versus no why in terms of the mindset of an organization. And I never knew this concept. And I think that we have been guilty of this for years.
Well, and he used the example of kids, but I think is the perfect way to describe this.
Absolutely. This is literally how he says he raises his kids, which is so funny. So the concept, yes how versus no why. We'll start with no why, because this is where most people live. They say that kids, or at least he says, kids on average hear no 6 times for every time that they hear a yes. It makes sense, hey, can I have this? Can I do this? Can I eat chocolate all night? Can I watch TV till 2 in the morning?
My kid, it's like, do you want to eat sand?
Yeah, no. And what it does is it programs us that most of the time the answer is no. And you look at a lot of people who...
No, here's why.
No, here's why.
No, don't eat the sand. It's disgusting.
Because of this.
It's bad for you. It's full of whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And you think about a lot of people who kind of come at their goals almost assuming they're not going to hit them.
Right.
And it makes sense because we're literally programming ourselves this way from the time that we're children. And so, I mean, whether or not you agree with that doesn't matter. But the point is that if you choose to live the other way and or do your business the other way, it's conceivable that you get a lot better results. Because if instead of saying, no, that doesn't sound like we could do it, here's why, if always you were forcing yourself to say, no, actually, the answer is always yes, and either here's how we're going to do it, or, how can we do it, I believe that you could achieve a lot more.
What would need to occur in order for that to happen?
Anything is possible is a big part of this concept. There's nothing that's impossible. What do you want? All we got to do is figure it out. And I think that's such a cool way. He says even with his kid, hey, can I stay up till midnight watching movies? Yes. And here's how. Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or this weekend, or whatever is.
I want a lightsaber that's $25. Yes, you can have it. You need to make $25. I can show you how to make $25.
Yeah.
Yes,
so,
how?
We basically came home and just said, like, this is so simple. It makes so much sense. We got to roll this out across our entire organization.
And we are instantly. But the one thing I'll say too is that I believe that I think that the yes how mentality is just so critical to having a huge business. Because if you think about no why, you're literally arguing for mediocrity. Because you're basically saying no, and here's the reasons it hasn't worked for anyone else. Well, the fact is that if you want a job like everyone else, or you want to, if you want an easy life, I got to tell you, I don't think real estate's that simple a way to go about it. There's a lot of day jobs that pay hourly that could be very, very pleasant and easy. And I think that if you're going to be in this business, you need to have a bit of a yes how mentality, because otherwise you're doing a lot of struggling for not enough benefit. So I think that by signing on for excellence and signing on for a huge, big vision and big life, it's just a lot more exciting if you're able to always just think, yes, how could it work? As opposed to, here are all the reasons it won't. I'm already stacking the deck against myself.
Well, and if you want to have a team that's, being disruptive in its marketplace and growing maybe bigger than other teams have in the marketplace or have in general.
Or in the case of Seth Campbell, bigger than anything on the planet that we know of yet.
Yeah, like if that's your vision, then you got to figure out how to do things that have never been done before. So if your gut reaction is, no, that can't be done because no one's done it, or because of this and because of this, well, you're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
So that popped my brain. I was like, anything's possible. You just need the right mindset and to work at it.
I think those are the big ones for me, man.
I don't have much else, but I'm sure we're going to come up with a couple others. So we reserve the right to do a follow-up video on this one. In the short term, you can expect that we'll finish the Gary Keller video as the next part of our little series together.
I've got two little things I'd like to finish off on. First off, if you have any, we're excited, as you can tell. So if we're saying stuff that isn't clear, that you don't understand,
bubbles out of us too quickly.
Yeah, if it bubbles out of us too quickly, just feel free to reach out to us. We're not hard guys to find. I'm sure through the group we're even easier. And on top of that, if this type of info is really useful to you and you weren't able to make the event and you would like more, feel free to say that either in the comments or let us know directly. We're happy to do more. And the last thing I'd like to say too is that Seth Campbell is an incredibly busy man, and the fact that he took time out of his personal schedule and away from his family and away from his business to come and bless this country with the incredible info that he had to put forward, I am just so beyond thankful for. And I know Sean and everyone at the event, hopefully you guys too are. And if ever you see him at any of the events, make sure to thank him for it, because it was a real life changer for our team and definitely for me in particular. So we just can't thank him enough.
Yeah, huge thank you. And I just give a big thank you to everyone who came too, because our goal wasn't to sell a lot of tickets for the event. We ended up selling almost twice as many as we thought we would have in terms of people who wanted to come. We were more focused on the people in the room. We really wanted a high level conversation, and the questions that were getting asked just blew my mind. Like, I didn't even realize how far along so many people in that room were, and it was just awesome to be part of that dialogue. It was so cool. So big thank you to Seth. Thanks to everyone who supported the event and came out, and we're going to cook up some more great stuff soon. So thanks for watching, and let us know if you have any questions, Front Seaters.
Have a good one.
Cheers, guys.